The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on the break!
With Nick Eatman, David Hellman, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Wednesday, April 27th, 2022, season 18, episode number 6. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break Live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. Got Nick, Dave, and Amber with me today. We're going to get you guys ready for the draft. It starts tomorrow. Full 3 days of draft coverage that we'll have on all of our platforms, DallasCowboys.com, Cowboys Mobile. This is a great opportunity. If you've never checked out our connected TV device, which is on Apple TV and Roku and Amazon Fire, you should download it because this will be a great way to watch Dave's mug for 3 days straight, right from your couch.
Sorry about that.
And right from your couch.
I don't know how you guys do that.
And listen to all the great insight they'll have about the draft as it goes on. There is no better, absolutely no better draft coverage than what those guys put together. And then obviously all the other content that we create for all of our other channels. So make sure you follow us this week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We'll give you guys all the latest and greatest. How's everybody doing today?
I'm wonderful, Derek.
Good.
It's football, Christmas, best 3 days of the year.
Yeah.
No, like I mean, I'm speaking only for myself.
Okay, good,
like
yeah.
I was
people,
gonna say, that's debatable.
Yeah. For him not, but for us.
people are always like, they're like, really? Like I enjoy the draft more than like any game, more than training
than the
camps.
games?
Absolutely, yeah.
Wow.
Games are stressful. Draft is fun. You just
Yeah, studying all hundreds of
I
guys.
like that look on Nick's face. Yeah, I don't see that, but
But just because the game, like, what does it mean? It means you lost or it means you won.
yeah.
Drafting Leighton Vander Esch in the first round doesn't mean anything for the next 2 or 3 years. Yeah. So it's hard to it's fun to just say, all right, all this work and to say, like, I got it. But, like, still don't know what it means. And I think it's funny how people are going to be, like, pissed off, like, I hate this draft. Like, you don't know anything what's happened yet. Yeah. But that's what I just think it's incomplete. But
see, I think that's probably why I think it's so much fun. Is it's just a big information gathering session, and that's the most rewarding part about it for me. Really, I mean, it's fun talking about what the Cowboys are going to do, and we have an idea of who they're going to pick, and we get to see how it works out. But, like, if you do this for enough time, you just know the league.
Yeah.
Like, you're just like, I got a baseline of information about damn near every football player in the NFL because I studied them during the draft, and it's a ton of fun to just be like, that's that guy. That's the dude that I loved in the third round that the Bengals snatched. Good for them.
Yeah.
You know, that type of thing. It's just fun.
That's actually one of the reasons I wish I had more time to really devote to learning the draft, because you're right. You get an understanding of the entire league. Every player in the entire league, even the random guy that's playing guard in Jacksonville, you kind of got an idea about him because you watched him during the draft.
We always joke about how, like, you know, to people just blow Nick up every time there's a flea flicker. Like, every time, like, the good and the bad. Like, every time Deebo Samuel does something, people are like, you were right about him. You loved him so much. You loved Deebo. You would have drafted him in the first round. And then to this day, every time Laquan Treadwell does anything, which is not often, they're like, you wanted to draft him in the top 5, you big dumb idiot. And I'm like, I sure did.
And both can be true, right?
Oh, yeah.
Both can be true.
You're going to be right. You're going to be wrong. It's fun. I love it.
All right. Let's talk about the pre-draft presser that happened yesterday. Yeah, Jerry and Steven and Coach McCarthy up there, and they were answering lots of questions, and we covered it. But there were some different things that came out of it I wanted to talk about. Let's start first with a quote that Steven made. He was talking about the drafts particularly, and he said that the draft this year, the depth is really found in rounds 3 through 5. He went on to say that he expects that they'll have roughly 14 to 16 first-round grades, which, again, just for those that don't know, typically teams don't have a full 32 players who have first-round grades on them. Just because they're drafted in the first round doesn't mean they have a first-round grade. But he did say 14 to 16 is a little less than what they would typically have. That being said, Dave, Nick, Amber, from what you guys have seen of draft prospects, do you agree with that assessment that really the depth of this thing is really in those middle rounds?
that's a nice way to say it's an average draft. I mean, you know, it's just there's not a lot of great players, but there's some good players, and that's where you're going to take these guys. It also is a good way to say that they're probably all over the board. I bet you there's a team that has 25 first round grades. I mean, it's just different. It's just the way they evaluate them differently.
Yeah, well, my number one reaction is like they're always going to frame it in a way that sounds good for them. Because I immediately thought he's like, yeah, rounds 3 to 5, and I'm like, oh, you mean the rounds where you have 6 picks in those rounds?
Right.
Cool. So of course you think it stacks up well for you because that's what you have to work with. Yeah. But the consensus on this draft is yes, it is lacking in sexy star power in the first 20 picks. Like, you know, you think about recent drafts, 2016, obviously, even 2017. Where there's just all, like, you go down the top 20 and you're like, oh, my God, like, he's an all-pro. He's an all-pro. I think the consensus is, like, it's short on that. But then really starting around where the Cowboys pick, like, I don't think there's a huge difference between pick 20 and pick 60 even. Wow. No, that's what I'm like. Yeah. And Steven said that, too, which I thought was interesting, is they have more good second-round grades than ever before. Like, or more than usual, we'll put it that way. So they might have as many as like 24 guys where it's like, not quite a first rounder, but we feel good about him in the second round, which is exciting when you think about the third round and even the fourth round. Like some of those guys tend to hang around. So I do think that's right, but it's also convenient for them that they feel that way.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I didn't necessarily like hearing that comment, which, if he's being honest about it, okay, these are 15 first-round grades that we have in our list right now. But then when you hear comments out like, okay, we don't have any musts, our hands are not tied to picking a specific position in this draft. So then
we'll get to that.
And yeah, I'm sure we will. But just kind of looking into all that and putting it all together, I'm like, okay, first of all, I do think you kind of do based on your necessities, but then hearing that you have around 15 guys, I'm thinking, okay, that limits you even more. You already have a certain limitation based on your needs. Now you're talking about there's only a certain group of 15 guys. Yes, you can possibly trade up and all that, and we'll see what actually happens tomorrow, but it's just like another aspect that wasn't like, oh, that's great to hear. I would like to hear, maybe a bigger quantity of guys, which doesn't usually happen anyways. But
it's the quarterbacks. There's no quarterbacks that are anybody really want to go get. And I mean, there might be some in the first round, but
I bet you not a team in the league has a first round grade on a quarterback.
Well, then
that's not to say they won't get drafted in the first round, but I bet you nobody has a first round grade.
And that's pushing people down. I
don't know if I've ever seen that in the NFL draft. You guys remember that? Like a year where there were no quarterbacks, not even one.
The year I got here, 2013, is famous for how bad the quarterback class was. I think E.J. Manuel was the first one taken, and he all the way down at like 16.
Yeah.
Here, I'll pull it up.
Yeah. And then
it happens every now and then.
It's a bad year to be 24 when you hope that there's 4 or 5 quarterbacks, and you hope that there's teams that want to trade up to get that quarterback.
When you don't need a quarterback.
You don't need
that's
one.
Perfect. Yeah.
We do this every year. We're like, you need those quarterbacks to go because that's going to push players down to you. And you never know what might happen because teams do stupid stuff with quarterbacks all the time. But like, I think you can't count on more than one quarterback getting drafted before the Cowboys pick.
Yeah.
It might happen, but I don't think you can count on it.
One of the things that when he said that jumped out to me, and Nick, you and I were talking about this a little bit yesterday, and I think you have a little different spin on it, but it made me wonder, because there are only 14 to 16 first-round grades for them, and because the real meat of this draft, as he was saying, really kind of happens in rounds 3 to 5. It makes me wonder if they would consider packaging those first and second round picks to move up in the first round to get a better player, one of those players that they think really has a first round grade, and forego maybe one of the second round guys because, again, as you said, Dave, some of those second round guys that they have second round grades on will likely drop to the third. Maybe they're in the fourth. You might still be able to get them later. But you can get a better top player. What do you guys think? Did you take anything from what he said about maybe what their strategy could be?
Well, can we have the conversation about him saying that there are no musts?
Yeah,
I think that ties.
You want to go to that?
No, I think that ties into it because I think that's one of the most blatant lies I've ever heard at a pre-draft press conference. Yeah. Like I was joking with Nick after it was over. If I walked into the war room and was like, "Okay, y'all don't have any musts, so we're just not going to pick this year," they would freak out and be like, "Absolutely not! Like we need players. We got stuff we got to do." And so the reason I say that is, how can you afford to package good picks again in a draft where you think there's going to be quality in rounds 2 and 3? How can you afford to package that to address one position when there's probably 4 that you gotta do something about in this draft?
I can't lose my second round pick.
Well, okay.
I mean, I'm sorry. I think I lost one last year. I mean, that's what I think right now. I think I've lost my second round pick last year.
You at least have to.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, you have to assume that that's a possibility.
Right. Yeah. So I can't waste another pick. And I get it that but to move up for number like 16, 17, I mean that's still kind of a crapshoot as well. Like I can't do that. But let me say this about the must. Are we 100% sure that he wasn't referring to first round must? I mean, they've got to get a guard. They've got to get a receiver at some point. Was he saying that there's no must for us like right here?
That would make a lot more sense to me. Like that would be more.
That.
He didn't
did not
say that. But that would be to me. That would be like, oh, okay, I get that. But yeah,
no,
I think
mean,
there are positions that they still have exposed. That's why it all seemed a little weird to me.
I'm reading the transcript. He said, this is verbatim, I wouldn't say we have any musts left in terms of having to take a particular position at some point. And the phrase at some point implies anywhere in the draft.
Anywhere, yeah.
You just can't not have an offensive. You have to draft 2 offensive linemen
Well,
in this draft.
If you told Steven right now, you're like, hey, I've been to the future, the draft's over, and you didn't get an offensive lineman, his face would turn white. He'd be like, are you serious? Like,
yeah.
Unless there are free, and we talked about this last week on our show, unless there are free agents that are still out there that they're like, we could go sign that guy tomorrow if we choose to, and he can play the role that we need him to play for this year.
They made it clear free agency is not over.
Exactly. So if that's the way they're looking at it, and they're saying, hey, we think we got some vets out there that we can go get tomorrow if we need to, that may be the reason why he says that.
Wonderful vote of confidence that you've left them sitting out there unsigned for 6 weeks while the offseason program has started.
And the rest of the league.
And the rest of the league is also right. And,
what a wonderful vote.
I'm not saying that that's actually what it is. What I'm saying is that would be the only way that statement makes a lot of sense to me, is if they already know we got a backup plan.
And this goes back to what I've said for years, and I absolutely hate this press conference because we're over here talking about it, and in reality is if Steven would have said, yeah, we have some musts. I think you guys know what they are. There's a couple positions that we have to take probably in the first round.
Yeah, he'd never say that.
So then when Kenyon Green and Zion Johnson sitting there at 22 and 23 and some team in the back is like, if we want this guard, I mean, the Cowboys, we know they're going to take a guard.
Yeah.
We better jump them. So that's why this whole,
which I get it. Like
they
I'm not
lied 5 times.
I'm not offended. I'm not offended at being lied to, but I've still got to call
you
it
don't
like I
have to
see
get
it.
into all those specifics. You can just say, yeah, we have some musts like every other team every year. Yeah, there are positions you
God
can
bless.
address.
Yeah,
Boom.
you have to have seen the YouTube video of Brian, right? Brian brought.
Yeah.
When Brian ran the Eagles draft, like he did one of those pressers, and like they asked him that type of question. He was like, "You guys know what we need. The fans know what we need too. Like it's not a secret." Which is isn't
that's so Brian.
It's quintessential
So
Brian brought us.
Yeah, so Brian.
Yeah, he would always do that on the show too. You watch that, you see, you
know.
Yeah,
you know. So let me ask you this question, and I'm not saying this is what it is, but I do have to ask the question. Do you think that maybe in their minds they are looking at McGovern, maybe Farniok? I don't know. Are they looking at guys that are currently on their roster and giving them more credit than we give them because they've seen them last year? They have a different opinion maybe than we do of them.
Of course they are. I mean, they do. I mean, especially at center. You know, like they have a different opinion of Biotish than I do. They have a different opinion of. I think they have a different opinion of what that position is because, like
They had it with Terrence Steele.
Yeah, they had a much better thought.
I mean, you got Ball sitting out there. We don't know what he is. I have no idea what he is. They may look at him and say he's our swing tackle. We think he can be our swing tackle. Who knows? I'm just saying that has to be factored in here as far as how they look at it because they're ultimately the ones that are answering those questions.
Yeah,
and they may have a different opinion of those guys.
Yeah, or also. Behind closed doors, they're like somewhere between pick 24 and 129.
Yeah.
We're going to get somebody to come in here and compete for this.
Yeah.
And they're not going to say that to us,
Right.
which is fine.
Right.
Do you think that maybe they are looking at the O-line? And again, they're not dumb. They've been in this business for years and years, and they've gotten the success that they've gotten in the past and all that. So they have the experience and the knowledge. But do you think that maybe they're looking at the O-line differently than how we are looking at them based on the sole reason that last year their offense was still able to perform at a certain level with the guys that they had at the time. I mean, right now they lost. They don't have. Oh my God. Aside from Connor Williams, Lyle Collins either. But I don't know how I'm trying to phrase this question, but do they see it just differently given the fact that they produced so much last year versus how we see them, that it's like, okay, your passing game obviously needs it, your running game obviously needs it, and we see it at a much higher level of priority at this time.
Go ahead. There's just no way that they could think that unless they're delusional. Because the reason the second half of the season was nowhere near as good as the first is because their running game completely fell off a cliff because they couldn't block anybody, and because Zeke was hurt, but whatever. And then the last impression we have of this team is a better offensive line that had Lyle and Connor Williams, who you can't tell me McGovern's better than because they tried to bench him and put him back. So stop. Better offensive line with two better players. Our last impression is of them getting mauled by the type of team you have to beat in the playoffs. Like, absolutely destroyed. Yeah. Dak was sacked 5 times. They couldn't run the ball. What else do you need to say? Like, if that's how they feel, they are in some serious denial.
I'm just trying to,
make
find
sense
different
of it. No,
ways.
I know.
Trying to
I
make
get
sense
it.
somehow.
Yeah, and that's the part that you're trying to figure out is, are they just lying just because, or is it a lie and they know it's a lie because they have to do that before the draft?
Slim Charles.
Or is it a situation where they really believe that, and then you're trying to figure out why would they believe that, and that's where you're kind of left pulling straws. Like, what do you think could possibly be here?
No, I've referenced this 10 times in the last few days. I'll do it again. I mean, they told us that running backs is not valued very high in 2016. You can't take running backs this high. And then they drafted Zeke like 3 days later. So this...
That's a strategy.
I mean, coy is like a nice way to say it, but yeah, they lie. They lie 3 or 4 times in that.
Jerry has said that in the past.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I remember him saying to the media, like, if my mouth is moving around draft time, I might be lying.
It's part of the game.
It's part of the game.
Jerry actually, he did. There was an element of truth in some of the stuff he said where he was like, we chum the water at this time of year. Yeah. That's what we do. We're stirring. I almost said a bad word. We're stirring stuff up. So, I mean, it's part of it.
Watch your mouth.
Yeah. Every team in the league is doing. And that's these last, this last week is really, it's frustrating as somebody who starts talking draft in December. This week is frustrating because this is when everybody's doing that. Like, everybody's chumming the water. Everybody's trying to accomplish this, that, and the other, and there's more media attention than ever. So you almost just need to tune this week out and be like, all right, let's just get to Thursday and see
what actually happens, right? Yeah. All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we got some status updates. They did talk about Michael Gallup. They also talked about Kelvin Joseph. We want to hear what's going on with them and what their thoughts are on where they are as far as coming back, and Kelvin Joseph and his situation that's going on with the police. We'll talk about that when we come back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
At AT&T, everyone, new and existing customers, get our best deals on every smartphone. Why? Because you deserve it. For turning your living room into your office and your gym. For teaching Grandma how to video call and teaching her again.
It's the button on your left, Nana. Okay, your other left.
It's not complicated. Everyone deserves something new. So AT&T is giving everyone, new and existing customers, our best deals with every unlimited plan on every smartphone, even the latest ones.
AT&T may temporarily slow data speeds if the network is busy. Restrictions and exceptions may apply.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way.
Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man's Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting Cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/Cowboys.
Back to the break.
Book an appointment now for your Essler lenses. They got Essler experts and more. You can find the perfect Essler lenses for you. See more, do more, Essilor.
Welcome back. It is the second segment of the break live in the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. Don't know if you're going to use this read in the second break, Nick, but I do want to mention that tomorrow, if you're having an opportunity, you're going to do that. I'll hold it. We'll talk.
Well,
about
you can do it twice. I mean, this read will take an hour. So go ahead. Talking about the Star.
Well, he loves just nice little rib shot to somebody. Whoever wrote that.
No, there's a lot going on. That's why it's long read.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you all that's going on. I'm just going to say if you're going to be in the area, go check out the draft party. It's going to be happening out here at the Star tomorrow. It's going to be a really cool event. Should be a lot of fun. You might even see some local celebrities. I mean, just like people that work on our staff.
There's about 20 players too that are supposed to go out
they're
there
going to sign some autographs.
autographs.
So and after COVID, like it's first time you're going to have that kind of real opportunity and get up and close and personal with players. So get a chance, go check it out.
The weather should be good. It's going to be out on the plaza.
Nice.
Should be fun.
Should be nice. All right, let's get back to it. Let's get some status updates. They talked about both Michael Gallup and Kelvin Joseph. Let's start with Michael. Where's Michael right now in his rehab?
Still rehabbing. He's not ready to play football, and he's not supposed to be.
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy's specific words were like, when we get to training camp, we'll have a clearer idea. I mean, he's not going to. This is conjecture from me, but just reading context clues. I walked past Michael in the training table the other day. I was like, you're not going to be like part of OTAs or anything. That's not going to happen. But I mean, like the rehab's going well, and they've been saying this whole time, like maybe he'll be ready at some point in training camp. Maybe it'll extend into the season. I don't know if they actually know right now.
Yeah.
So
I don't think they're expecting him.
No,
it doesn't sound like.
But
they're not expecting for the beginning of the season.
He's on pace with what they projected for him for the time being.
Yep.
I would imagine. I still don't think he'll be ready for the start of the season, and I think he'll end up on PUP actually, which is. He'll be out
6 weeks.
He could be out 6 weeks. I mean, that's what I think. That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah, definitely.
And so, but I think we'll get a better idea too of what that situation looks like based off of the draft.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. You guys might disagree. I mean, just taking a receiver in the first round doesn't necessarily mean that they don't feel comfortable with where Gallup's rehab is, because I mean, this is a 5-year commitment.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't think that has anything to do with it. They need a receiver because look at the makeup of their core, like in the short and long term. Like yes, Michael might miss some games, but also Noah Brown's on a 1-year deal. James Washington's on a 1-year deal. Mm-hmm. Somehow CD is already inching into the back half of his deal. So you just got to keep replenishing that thing.
Yeah, and I think that. I think a second and third round receiver could still come in and help this team. It better, because you're asking Noah Brown, Simi Fehoko, and James Washington to help this team. So a second or third round receiver should help, and I think that they can. I don't know if a second or third round guard immediately comes in and is better. Yeah. I don't know that.
Yeah. I mean, you look at it, this league is littered with second and third round wide receivers who are extremely productive. So
fast.
Yeah, there are opportunities. Fast. You can find guys. You can find guys at wide receiver in the second and third rounds that can contribute to your team.
I think about 2018 was so perfect for them. Like they found Mike at 81. I'm dubious that a receiver as good as Michael Gallup was. I'm not talking about who he is now, but even what he was. Like Michael was. They didn't have a lot of receivers in 2018 either, but he was a rookie starter as a third round pick, which. Even when it's a thin receiver core, that's still pretty impressive. I don't know if there's a guy that good at 88 this year.
But you think they because you got to also factor in the situation they're coming into. They're not being asked to be the top guy.
Yeah,
they're asking to be a complimentary guy.
That's right? A good point. I mean, if you don't need him to be the dude from the get, and you do have CD, and you'll have Michael at a certain point, but. I don't know. I start to get nervous about the depth of the receiver class after the second round.
Can I make a prediction?
Me personally.
Here's my prediction on Friday night. I don't think they take a receiver in the first round. I think they take a receiver in the second or third round, and I think he is a slot guy and definitely a punt returner. And my prediction is Stephen Jones is going to tell us, or Will McClay, who's up there, we feel like this guy can come right in and return punts, which is something CD won't do, I would imagine, which Cedric Wilson's
He's your guy.
You don't have a punt returner really on the roster. So I think that the sell is what can they do? We think he can come right in, be a slot guy for us, helping our punt return. We're just so excited to have him. That's my prediction. They're going to get that receiver in the second or third round Friday night. Don't know his name. Wan'Dale Robinson, Kentucky?
Wan'Dale Robinson, Kentucky.
Somebody like that. A 5'9",
I'm thinking
5'8".
the names I have in my brain are later. But yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right about that, just in terms of like the type of role.
Can they really afford to get a guy that's more just kind of a slot guy? Because they may need more of him. If let's say, for example, Gallup's out for that 6 weeks. Let's assume that happens. Like, they're going to need more from that guy than just I can play the slot, right?
Well,
I do.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, sure. I mean, you're going to need more than that. But I'm just saying, the quick twitch guy like that, I could see them getting. And I would imagine at some point on the scouting report, someone said Tyreek Hill's a slot guy, type, because he's shorter.
And we found out he's much more
right.
than
So
that, right?
if you can run like the wind, I mean, I think that they'll have you in there. But that's the type of guy I could see them getting in the second or third round. Jahan Dotson, he's a first round guy, right?
Fringe. That's the fun thing about this is like there's about 12 names that I'm positive will go in the first round, and then everything after that you're like, maybe.
That is amazing.
Maybe. Depends on how much somebody likes him.
It's going to be a crazy draft.
Yeah.
I'll just say this, and Nick hasn't told me anything. It's funny because like we cover the draft all year, but Nick knows just who to ask, and like Nick will pop up like a week before the draft and be like, maybe they'll do this, and I'm like, who told you that?
I haven't heard Wan'Dale Robinson's name at all.
Okay.
I just know.
Okay.
You know why I know Wan'Dale Robinson's name is I'm really good friends with a former Cowboy named James Whalen who played at Kentucky, and James had his record of most catches at Kentucky broken by Wan'Dale Robinson, who I've seen him in the SEC. He catches everything. He just played. He's one of those 8-year seniors, So.
When Nick, because Nick is preoccupied and not really focusing on the draft most of the year. So like when Nick drops a draft tidbit, I'm like, okay, I'm listening because you didn't pull this out of thin air.
Well, we could probably say it now. There was a long time that a scout in our scouting department used to give you an envelope, right?
It happened a couple times. It's one. I mean, if you have time for the story, I'll tell it. I think this is a crazy story because of all the things that happened. But yeah, a guy came up. He's head of scouting or one of the top guys in scouting. He came up and gave me an envelope. I mean, this thing was sealed, taped up, and it was just like, don't open this until the day of the draft. And he came up three or four times in that 2 weeks to make sure I hadn't opened it, and I kind of forgot about it. So this is 2004. We had the 23rd pick, 22nd pick, something like that. And then they trade. So we're getting there. We're ready to pick. 2004, we're going to get a running back. We're going to get Steven Jackson, going to get Kevin Jones, going to get one of these backs. They trade out of it. And, I mean, that just sucks when you're like, you don't pick today because they traded for next year's one.
Mm-hmm. So
now we don't have a pick. I forgot all about the envelope. The next day, this is a Parcells draft. They're sitting there with like the 43rd pick, and they're about to take some of these other guys. But Tatum Bell said that the Cowboys said they would draft Tatum Bell. They told him that. Parcells says, we're taking
he ends
you
up in
if
Denver,
you're there.
Right?
Yeah. They don't take him. They take Julius Jones instead. They take Julius Jones. Oh, cool. Later that night, I opened it up and see that little piece of paper. It said Julius Jones that was written 2 weeks before. And Julius
they know what they're doing, what their
but
plan
Julius
is.
was never going to be a first-round pick.
Yeah.
They were going to take Steven Jackson. They were afraid of his knee, which is,
But that tells you whether they really were planning on Steven Jackson or not. Yeah,
it was the most amazing thing because there were so many things that had to fall just right, and it did. I mean, it might have been lucky. He did it again, too. Same guy picked him. The third-round tackle, James Martin, which was one of the biggest busts in the history of the Cowboys. So,
so not too proud of that one, but
no, but they pegged it. They had it.
Yeah. I think the craziest thing about the draft process, and I remember being a draft fan as a young kid, and you get worked up about the guy. I wanted the year the Saints drafted Reggie Bush. I wanted AJ Hawk. Like I was obsessed with AJ Hawk, and but as a fan, you have this list of like 9,000 names. The team's got, if there's 600 draft eligible players, they've got 120 draftable grades, and then literally it might be as small as like 24 names where they're like, these are the guys we're going to draft.
This is what we want.
And like sometimes you have to pivot from that. Like they were not going to draft Micah last year. I don't care what they say. But they had to pivot. But going into a draft night, the list of guys that they're actually considering is so much smaller than I think most fans realize.
I was told that they do like these mock drafts with all these scenarios that the scouts, they do like 20 of them.
Yep.
And 3 years ago they did 20, and Tony Pollard was picked in the 3rd or 4th round every single time. Like every time Tony Pollard was there, so they were like, we're taking Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
We're going to take him. And the same happened with
because they know
Switzer.
they want him. Anybody that's ever done a fantasy draft, you kind of know. You get your guys that you just kind of want, and so you end up with them. And you could probably run the scenario hundreds of times, and you're going to get those guys you really want in most instances because you probably draft them ahead of, maybe a little bit ahead of where you should, because you know you want them.
I just go off the Yahoo rankings.
Take whatever they give you.
But
if they're next, that's who I take.
That's a great, that's a fantastic way to think of it, though, because, draft night rolls around. We've all got our trackers pulled up, and it's like, okay, these are the 10 best guys left according to Yahoo, or this is the top of Dane Brugler's top 300. These are the guys that are left. Meanwhile, the Cowboys are obsessed with Nashawn Wright, who's down here, and they're like, we were taking him somewhere on Friday, no matter what. And there's nothing. Nobody's opinion matters. Nobody's research matters.
We like this guy.
Yeah,
that's all that matters.
Yep.
We like this guy. All right, tell me about Kelvin Joseph. What do we know at this point? What are they talking about Kelvin Joseph? What's that look?
Hey, well, Jerry said, I find out my information from what you guys write. I don't. That's another. That goes in the.
You're not buying?
That goes in the group of 5. I don't know if I believe that, but I mean, I think what he's saying is there's no new information on it right now, and also the league and the authorities will. They're still investigating this.
And it's not like let's also be honest. It's not like I would assume. I'm gonna make an assumption. I don't think the police department is calling Jerry and saying, "Hey, we got some information on your guy. Here's kind of what we're thinking." Like, he's not the person that they're going to call to give this information anyway. So he's having to learn a lot of this stuff. They probably have people who can make connections and try to find out things. But at the end of the day, the police are only going to talk about what they want to talk about to who they want to talk about it.
Yeah. Typically, it's so weird because the situation is pretty normal by NFL standards of just like you're kind of in limbo and you don't know what's going to happen. It is such a more serious offense. Usually it's like,
dope.
Zeke was seen in a cell phone video doing something inappropriate on St. Patrick's Day. Like it's bad. It's a bad look, but it's a lot less serious than somebody dying. So it's just it's weird. It's very weird. I don't know what's going to happen, but the fact that really nothing has happened and it's been 2 weeks is strange,
I'll say this.
bizarre.
I watch a lot of cases of criminal stuff, murder stuff, all kinds of things. And sometimes it takes a lot longer, and then when you least expect it, here's the police knocking at your door and an arrest is being made. So I'm just saying that
is like my
I don't know what's going to
nightmare.
happen, but sometimes it takes
Are you worried about that happening?
No, but I'm just saying that would be my worst nightmare, that the cops just show up at my house like, yeah, we got a warrant for your arrest. Like, oh my gosh. Everything about that just
interesting. I can't wait for the break because I'm gonna ask,
what?
What are you doing?
I gotta be honest. I don't.
Tickets.
That's
Tickets.
true.
I get a lot of tickets.
You make me look like a grandma,
a lot of tickets.
and I drive like a jerk.
I drive bad.
But I mean, the arrests were already made. Like Kelvin talked to the police, and some arrests were made.
That's the part. But that's also the part that makes me think of all these things that are going on. I would think he probably has a little bit of solace in the fact that he talked to the police and then they made arrests and he wasn't one of those arrests.
Right.
That's got to make him at least feel like, okay, maybe I'm good here. Who knows? But that 2 weeks later and he hasn't been arrested and other people have been, I would say that's probably as good a sign as he could possibly have right now.
I agree with you, but I don't know. I feel out of my depth. Like I didn't go to law school. I don't know any of this stuff.
Talking about all this because it is like you guys keep saying. There's something way tragic, that happened, and there's a family grieving and all that.
Somebody's gonna have to be accountable,
right?
For it, yeah.
And we said the one thing when it comes to football is that, and we've said this a lot of times, is the kid Joseph needs to mature. He needs to grow up. He needs to realize that this is a business. This is his life. He needs to be focused on that. And we said that 6 months ago, and it doesn't seem like it's happened because of that night. It doesn't seem like he's doing that. But I mean, if he's going to get a chance to keep playing football, if that's still going to be in the cards, then I mean, I can't imagine a bigger wake-up call for him than to say, "Hey, I've got to be as focused as I can be." And I hate even saying that that's a silver lining. I hate saying that because it's not going to.
No, but I think it's fair to say it can be a wake-up call, because I think all of us in our lives probably have pivotal moments where things happen, and you look at them and you're like, "Wow, I really got to make some changes in my life," right? And so if it's that for him, I know it's tragic, and I'm not taking away from the tragic nature of it, but if that's what it takes, if this is what gets him to kind of look at life differently, then that's good for him. It's not a good situation, but it's a good thing and positive thing for him if it makes him go in a different direction.
And his connection to the situation as the Cowboys, that would scare me. That's what worries me.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't. Where you were in the car and all that stuff, being there, being associated, that to me, that's a problem. That's something that has to be fixed. And
I think that regardless of any decisions being made yet, whether that's by the league, the police, or the Cowboys, sure, be out here in the off-season voluntary programs all you want and all that, but as of right now, and looking into what's ahead, I wouldn't be making my plans with him, like counting on him, basically. I wouldn't be counting on a guy like him right now. So my plans would be as if he wasn't part of the team until further notice and whatever else happens as a conclusion.
And I don't know if this will happen, but let's say that a team was wanting some cornerback, a veteran cornerback, and they're in the 4th round, and they say, We'll give you a 4th-round pick for Anthony Brown or Jordan Lewis.
Wouldn't do that today.
No.
Wouldn't do it today.
No.
That's where I think the big difference is that I don't know if you necessarily have to go draft a corner now, but you're not going to mess with your depth because
also you just don't know what the league's going to do here. Like, he doesn't have to get arrested for the league to come in and say, you're out for 6 games. Like, that's a real possibility just because you look at what the league's done historically. They don't need proof necessarily. They certainly don't need anything legal-wise. So, yeah, that's still a problem.
It'll be interesting, too, to see if that does happen, what kind of suspension is it? Is it a suspension of games or is it a suspension of being away from football? Because one thing we've seen is that this is one of those situations, I think, where structure is what's needed.
Yeah.
You suspend him for 6 games, you're not allowed to be in the building. Was that good or bad?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of where we are here in this. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I just can't imagine him not being suspended. I think, if I'm being honest, I think he should be. I think at least suspended.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a very serious thing for him. And so,
The one thing I would point out, though, is we saw a similar situation, for those that remember it, with Ray Lewis, where he was there when someone ended up dead, and he was charged at one point. Mm-hmm. And I remember seeing an interview where he was talking about how he had to take a real inventory of his life after that situation, and like, who is he around? And what is he allowing himself to be associated with? And so I do think there is a model here for Kelvin Joseph of, okay, if he really didn't have anything to do with this and just was in that situation because people around him were doing things, then maybe there's an opportunity here for him to say, I can do the same thing from the standpoint of taking inventory of my life and making some positive changes. And I remember at the time, there were a lot of people that were saying, man, the Ravens need to cut this guy. They need to get rid of this guy. They didn't, and he ended up having obviously a really great career. But I think that's the part where I put it back on Kelvin Joseph. Can he be self-aware enough to understand that this situation he didn't have to be there? and really think about in the future, like, where am I and who am I with in order to make really good decisions so you ultimately don't end up in these kind of situations.
Also, you can't force anyone to like something or to do something. And I'm referencing, like, yes, this is a game that it's a business, a lot of money involved, but at the same time, it is very much a game of passion. And you have to want to do it and be out there and do the kind of work that it takes. So with him, and we talked about it in previous shows, I think it was the last show, about the questions surrounding him prior to being drafted and everything that happened in his college career is one of those things that it takes you back to that, like, easy really wanting to even play football at all. And that's not something I can answer for him. He has to answer for himself. But you as a organization and looking at the business side of it, you do have to now take a deeper look into that whole aspect, the mental and the not passion, but like the teammate thing that surrounds him, and see if it's, regardless of him being innocent or not, is this really going to be a good fit for our future here?
You know what? Somebody told me this about a week ago about him, and they said, I feel bad even saying this, but when it comes to football, Kelvin Joseph actually impressed the team last year with his ability to play special teams, his willingness to do it. Was told he was even graded as the best special teams player on the team last year. Better than Goodwin.
I was about to say better than Goodwin?
Better than Goodwin.
Wow. He flashed. That's impressive.
In just...
Because Goodwin, in my opinion, maybe the best special team player I've ever watched on a week-to-week basis.
He's awesome. But as far as assignment goes and just, they grade, like in basketball, you always get this plus minus and stuff. They have all kinds of grades for stuff. But apparently he was graded as high as any other player.
Wow.
And so, which is not something you expect a second-round corner.
Yeah.
He probably didn't do it a lot at LSU or Kentucky to go out there and do that. So there are some things that we don't necessarily see that they're this giving, the Cowboys some promise there as a player.
Yeah.
But he's got to, he's like she said, he's got to want to get there. He's got to get there. And if this is that fork in the road that helps, then that's great for him as a football player.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take our final break. When we come back, we're going to nail these guys down on some stuff they expect to see this over these next 3 days at the draft, who they expect the Cowboys to take, who maybe some of their pet cats are, what their draft strategies would look like if they were the ones making the call. We'll do that when we come right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with...
And I'm Jay Novacek, and we're both with...
United Ag and Turf, the official tractor provider of the Dallas Cowboys.
So, if you need a tractor to bale some hay, a mower to cut some grass, or a gator to get some chores done...
Get a John Deere at United Ag and Turf.
And then, let's get to work.
Hey, Jay, that's my line.
Well, not today.
Get to work with a John Deere tractor package that's just right for you and your budget. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way.
Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
At AT&T, everyone, new and existing customers, get our best deals on every smartphone. Why? Because you deserve it. For turning your living room into your office and your gym. For teaching grandma how to video call and teaching her again.
It's the button on your left, Nana. Okay, your other left.
It's not complicated. Everyone deserves something new. So AT&T is giving everyone, new and existing customers, our best deals with every unlimited plan on every smartphone, even the latest ones.
AT&T may temporarily slow data speeds if the network is busy. Restrictions and exceptions may apply.
New Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You deserve it.
I do deserve that.
You deserve decadent flavor without sugar. And a day at the beach without sand getting everywhere. And a relaxing bath that your children don't interrupt.
I deserve all that?
It's really just a visual metaphor for Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
A visual metaphor on the radio. I do deserve that.
Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. The zero you deserve is finally here.
Back to the break.
All right, tomorrow night, head to the Star in Frisco for the 2022 Cowboys Draft presented by Miller Lite. Thursday, April 26th through Saturday, April 30th It's a 3-day event.
Did you say 26th?
April 28th.
28th.
Sorry
yeah,
about that.
28th.
Sorry.
Tomorrow. Yes.
Maybe I need to get Essler lenses.
Maybe.
To help me out a little bit there. Enjoy the live draft party and entertainment. Free youth camp on Friday night and the draft day 5K presented by Baylor Scott and White Health on Saturday morning. For more details, visit DallasCowboys.com/draft.
Welcome back. It is the final segment of the break live from SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. Let's get you guys nailed down. I want some predictions on what's going to happen for this draft. Let's start first, big picture. I want to go around the table. If each of you kind of define what your strategy would be for the Cowboys if you were making a decision going into the draft. You don't have to necessarily say a player, but just kind of overall, how are you looking at the draft? What are the things you really got to address, and what do you think is most important for the Cowboys to come away with once you get to Saturday night and you're done with this whole thing? Let's start first with you, Amber.
You're done with this thing.
You're done with this thing.
Listen, I don't overanalyze this thing because I think it's very complicated. The draft, you have so many moving pieces that you don't know what's really going to happen. But I'm looking, and this is no news to anybody, but O-line, specifically a guard. I'm looking at wide receiver, of course. We've talked about that. Looking at linebacker, someone to help in there because we don't have enough bodies there either. And other than that, after those 3 positions, I'm like, have at it. You can bring me a pass rusher that can help create some more pressure there. You can bring me a tight end if you want. You can bring me another corner maybe. So bring whatever you want. But as long as you address those 3 main needs, I'll be happy.
All right, Dave.
Okay, and it's so funny because the way we talk about this goes contrary to the way that everybody says you're supposed to draft, which is like just best player. Just don't window dress your board. Don't do anything stupid just because you need something. But they've got to come out of this draft with a few things in certain areas. So I'm going to kind of cheat and say a week from today, this team needs to have 2 offensive linemen that are capable of starting.
That are not here right now.
If that means you call Eric Flowers and Sam Tevy on Monday and say, we need you here, so be it. Preferably you would do it in the draft. But I think they need a guard and a tackle who are capable of starting in the NFL a week from today. They need a receiver. Those are the 3 things. They need those 3 things. And then, yeah, I would like to see him beef up the pass rush. I would like to see him add depth at linebacker. I think it would be smart to draft a kicker. Jesus, please. And maybe address...
Wow.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that'd be a great pick.
Hey, Jesus, get down here. Please kick some field goals.
Sure, he has more important things to do than
but
about the Cowboys.
To make extra points? I bet he can make them.
Future of the running back position, I would like
Jesus.
to throw a pick at that. Jesus, oh my God!
Stop. Go, Dave. Finish.
Yeah, throw a pick at the running back position, but really 2 starter caliber offensive linemen and a receiver. I don't care how you get them, but that's what you need. And then to Amber's point, just
go for it.
Throw the other picks at guys you like and see what happens.
All right, Nick.
This is want or need.
You're
You
the
didn't
guy.
ask me one.
I didn't. You're the guy. What's your
okay.
strategy? What are you going into the weekend thinking I got to do? What do I need to do?
I got to trade down and hope that there's some linemen there. I want to trade down. I want to pick up a 2nd-round pick. I want to use that next year's one and go get a receiver from 49ers. That's what I want.
Let's go.
Then I want to come out. Then I got I still got a 1st-round pick who's a lineman, maybe one from A&M who's falling a little bit because for whatever the reason. I'll take him. And then I got my guy from the 49ers, which then I got to pay more than I was going to pay Amari and more than you're going to pay a CD. But
You call San Francisco, not Seattle?
what did I say, Seattle?
No, I'm saying you could call both.
Yeah, I could call both.
I'm just asking. I mean,
Didn't Tennessee's guy also?
Yeah, sure. Could call Nashville
there's
too.
There's lots of teams you can call. I don't know if they're going to pick up the phone, but you can call whoever you want to call.
I don't think the Cowboys are going to pick up the phone.
No, I think. Okay, you know what? I think I'd call Seattle.
I just think you could maybe do that for cheaper than San Francisco.
Another thing,
maybe
if we want to just bring it up for one more time. I mean, I'd probably go get Earl Thomas. You want to just so we can talk about it
for
one more
old
time.
time's sake. For
Just
old
so
time's
we
sake.
can mention it again.
Okay.
I'm kidding on that. And I'm sorry, and I'm sort of kidding on all of that. I got to get a lineman.
Yeah.
I like that. I like you got to get 2 linemen that can play. I need a lineman that can
By
play.
Monday. I thought that was the key.
Yeah.
To it.
Yeah, a lineman that I can. I'll draft a lineman that can plug in and play. And I'm telling you, sneaky need for me is still linebacker. Linebacker to me, I'm because your offensive lineman makes who better? Dak.
Mm-hmm.
Your linebacker, I think, makes Micah better.
I agree with
and
that.
So,
especially if he's really good. I'm talking not that's the difference between getting one in the first, maybe second round
Right.
versus getting one in the 5th round.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, right. He's got to be a guy that can come in and play. I mean, I'm not.
And be the man at linebacker. I guess that's what I'm saying is he can be the man if you want to put Micah on the defensive line.
Dean.
Yeah.
Nakobe Dean.
Devin Lloyd.
Let's go. Let's go.
My whole life.
Can I ask? Go ahead. I want anything that starts out my whole life.
I know, right?
I was just about to admit how painfully white I am. I grew up in New Orleans, but my whole life I thought that was just a football celebration, throwing up the hooks.
Oh yeah,
I thought
LSU D lineman used to do it, and I was like, yeah, that's badass. Like, he got a sack. I had no idea.
My
what it
favorite
meant.
basketball player of all time, Corliss Williamson.
Yeah.
I named my female dog after Corliss Williamson, and I thought that was just his thing. I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah.
Also,
found out.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't do it around Derek because he will hit you. It's true. Punch you. He's done that.
That's true.
We don't need to talk about that.
No, we don't. Anyways, can I ask what were the thoughts yesterday when we just completely threw a Taco under the bus?
That was hilarious.
And then Taco.
No, he had a good comeback.
Yeah.
He had a good comeback.
To be honest with you, like,
I thought that was funny.
It was very funny.
Just so people know, that Jerry mentioned during the press conference, he said they were asking about who makes the final call. He said, well, I usually make the final call, but with Taco, that was Steven. Just kind of basically just threw it out there. Like,
and I
that
made
was on
Micah,
Steven.
and he made
Yeah,
Taco.
Yeah.
It was funny, but also, like, I was like, really, man? Like, that's your fault? You're going to throw him under the bus? Like, y'all left that up.
Yeah.
That's your bad. Because everybody and their mother was like, what? So, like, it's not like, this isn't one of those things where it's like, what are you going to do? Sometimes it doesn't work out. 1 million people thought it was a bad idea, and you did it anyway, and then you throw you say his name, like, Taco sucked. It's like, well, that's your bad. That's not his bad. And so I enjoyed his clapback.
I figured.
I thought the clapback was
I've
cool.
realized that parents do that a lot. I haven't done it with my own child yet, but I see it happen all the time where parents just put the blame on their own kid. I'm like, oh, that was him.
In what way? Like, say.
Just anything. For example, I mean, it could be anything. I'm not going to get into specific, but just an example. I remember Thanksgiving, we would always go to my stepdad's house and his family. They're all Americans, and he would be eating all the food, certain type of food. And at that time, I didn't speak English that well, but I understood it. And he would put the blame on me when his sister would be asking, who ate all the blah, blah, blah? He'll be like, oh, Amber likes it. And I'm over here without being able to defend myself, because I didn't speak English. But anyway, the point is, I see it a lot now that I'm a parent, that you blame your child. And you're okay
it
with
works.
Especially if something smells bad. Like,
Yeah, I do that all the time. Yeah. DJ, stop it.
That was him.
Say, excuse me.
It was a tongue-in-cheek comment. Like, it was just Jerry was having fun, but I was like, man, that's more on y'all than it is on Taco.
And Taco's comeback on Twitter was just like the crying meme
Right.
of
Wiping his eyes
wiping
with
your
money.
eyes with money.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, that's pretty good.
That's funny.
Pretty good.
Don't
But
need
Randy
Randy. Don't
was-
need Randy to get
Randy
in
was
there.
brought into the conversation somehow.
You already left, dude. Just go, man. Just stay gone. He's gone.
That's gonna linger. Clearly, I mean, it already is. But
At least for the next year, 2 years, at least. Right. Yeah, it's going to still be a topic.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about the first round. We're coming close to the end of the show. Tell me what you expect to happen in the first round, what you want to happen in the first round.
This is what I meant when I said I hate this week, because like the narrative is formed, and then we get to this week and it all gets thrown into chaos. And just as an example of what I mean, like if you've been following along with us on the draft show, or if you've been following the draft, like we put the jigsaw puzzle together pretty well every year. We've got an idea: Kenyon Green, Zion Johnson. They really like some of the receivers: Traylon Burks, Drake London. But then
Peter King, guys like Peter King and Albert Breer just cannonball into the pool on Monday of draft week, and they're like Tyler Linderbaum, Nakobe Dean, which are not I mean, we know these names, but we haven't really been tying them to the Cowboys. Like those, they didn't visit. They're not these guys that are highlighted. And people like Peter King and Albert Breer don't throw that stuff out there willy-nilly. Like these are the type of guys that can call up the right person and have a real conversation. And so I'm just looking at it and I'm like, where's this coming from? So now you're second-guessing everything. To answer it more succinctly, I think they have a preference for an offensive lineman or a receiver. I think they're going to get wiped out of their receiver options. Like
Really?
I'm starting to feel that way. Like I don't know if
how many do you think legitimate receiver options there are in the first round?
6 to 8.
And you think all of them will be gone before the Cowboys pick?
All the ones that they might want to draft.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's 5.
Five.
That will, no.
5 that the Cowboys would have interest in the first round.
They love Drake London.
Yeah.
They like Treylon Burks. They love Chris Olave. And I think all 3 of those guys could be gone.
Dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah, all 3 of them. Yeah.
Jameson Williams will already be gone, right?
When you ask what I want to happen, give me Jameson Williams. Call it a day.
Yeah.
Put Tyreek Hill on this team, and we'll call it a day. I'm fine with that.
And then it would be like
Are you pretty certain he's going to be gone?
Yes.
I mean,
pretty certain. Do I know for sure? I was pretty certain CeeDee Lamb would be gone too. Who the hell knows? But I don't think he'll be.
Does it bother you at all of a guy like Jameson Williams? I mean, there's only one Brit. Well, there's 2, I guess, but Britt Brown, who's like, going to do
Which
the
Brit
chords.
you talking about? That's what
I'm saying, doing the chords. I mean, you got Michael Gallup and you got Jameson Williams. I mean, you got 2 guys.
A, it's a 5-year contract, and B, Williams he's on the record saying he thinks he'll be ready for training camp. So,
but that might also be the reason why he's available to you is because there are questions about his health. Right?
I would run to the podium to draft that man. I don't care.
Sam Bradford tore his shoulder off in the OU Texas game and was the number 1 pick in the draft.
Right.
I mean, like,
if you're good, you're good.
If you're good, you're good. I think they'll deal with it.
That's true.
I think we've beaten this into the ground, but I think the realistic scenarios are Zion Johnson and Kenyon Green. And if for some reason they don't like one of those, Nick kind of alluded to it, maybe Kenyon Green might have a medical issue that scares some people, so that's something to keep an eye on. And if they don't like their options at offensive line, then maybe like the bailout pick would be a linebacker, Dean or Lloyd. Lloyd was a visitor, so that would make sense. Dean, a lot of people love him, but he seems small to me to be a Cowboy pick. No, he's a great player. Like
he was saying, you qualify that at the end to be a Cowboy pick.
Yeah,
they do tend to like big, long.
I mean, they drafted Leighton Vander Esch. He's like 6'6". Yeah. Micah's 6'3". Yeah. So to draft a 5'11" linebacker in the first round seems out of character. But if you were the captain of like the best defense in modern college football history, I'm fine with you being on my team.
Yeah, and you were a player on that team.
Like a whole beast. Yeah. So, that's what I think. That was long-winded. Sorry.
Amber, what are you thinking?
I forgot the question.
what do you want to happen, and what do you think will happen?
I can never guess anything when it comes to the draft, but my guy right now is Zion. Like, that's the guy I would want them to draft. I specifically want a guard. I was checking out, I think it was yesterday, on the website, like the latest mock draft that you guys did on DallasCowboys.com. You see the different options that people around the media picks for the Cowboys, and one of the most popular names still out there is Tyler Linderbaum, and that one. And we've talked about this on a show. I asked you, Dave, like, what do you think about him and all that, which is great, like the talent that he has. But I'm still like, I wouldn't be excited about a center. Like, I get it, talent. You can also help the guy next to you, as you can help the guard and all that. But I want and I need a guard that is very much capable of handling his own, and not. So I don't know. I just want a guard. That's all I want.
All right, Nick.
Yeah, I definitely. I want them to get an offensive lineman that can play right now. I think if I had to guess, I think they're going to take a receiver. That's what I would think they would do, but I hope that they take an offensive lineman and one that's got some position flex to him. A guy that can play guard and maybe eventually center. A guy that can play guard and maybe eventually tackle. Play a few years and then move out there if you need it. There's some guys like that. I think Zion Johnson's very versatile. Kenyon Green, Tyler Smith, Tulsa. I think there's a chance there, but I think somebody that's got some versatility on the offensive line.
Zion does have center flexibility, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So. And what's really interesting about him is we have a story up today on him. He started 49 games, I think, in college, 26 at guard, 23 at tackle, and he's got center, possibility too. So, he played 3 years. 3 years at Davidson? He wrecked. Was obviously a lower level. Then went to Boston College and was still pretty good too. So, position flex for him, strength. I mean, Zion Johnson would be good, but don't be surprised if some just somebody that's got position flex. I think is the key at the O-line.
All right. Appreciate you guys joining us. We will be back next week on Wednesday. We'll let you guys know what we think about the draft and what the Cowboys got and where there may still be some holes. We'll talk about that next Wednesday. Till then, for Nick Eatman, Dave Hellman, and Amber Garcia, I am Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!